What's up guys, Americana back here with another video. Today we're going to be breaking down a very simple plan on how you should be selling your Ethereum, and I'll show you the exact levels to scale out so you don't get stuck holding next bear market. So let's dive into the video. Alright guys, so what you're seeing on chart here is called Fibonacci extensions. Throughout the week we're going to be covering kind of in and around this topic, so you'll see this pop up in other videos. We're not going to get into why this works for this cycle or for this coin specifically, but we will be covering some things. This is strictly going to be about using Fibonacci to set these sell levels, how to get it, how to calculate it, things like that. All right, guys, so I'm assuming most of you guys are on TradingView. So to get this tool, you'll simply go over here to the third little row. If you want to see, you should just be able to click the first one, but if you want to see and make sure you're using the right one, it's always going to be Fibonacci retracement. You can go ahead and draw it like this. It'll probably pop up completely different the first time you do it, but if you want to steal these settings, more than welcome. Here, you can go ahead and take a screenshot. And then once you do have the settings, all right, how do you actually draw this? Okay, for extensions specifically, you're always going to draw from the bull market peak to the bear market bottom. All right, so I'll show you out here what it would look like, right? We're just going to go from the peak to the bottom, and then this will extend out accordingly, right? One thing you guys will notice, and if you watch my short form content as well, we always work off the market cap. So here on Ethereum, we are on the Ethereum market cap chart, right down here. And we can do some very, very, very simple calculations to actually get price predictions for each one of these levels. So let's go ahead and do that right now. All right, so the easiest way to do this is head over to coinmarketcap.com. See it right there. Okay, coinmarketcap.com. Scroll over to Ethereum. And then if you see here, we have circulating supply. This is how many Ethereum are out there able to be sold, staked, moved around, whatever the case may be, right? So now let's navigate back over to Ethereum's market cap. Sorry, let's go back one more time. 120 million. We'll round to 121 million Ethereum, right? So then all we have to do is do some simple math of taking these market caps and dividing it by the, what did I say it was? 121 million. So 867 billion divided by 121 million. So I'll save you guys the time of me actually doing all these calculations, and I'll just go ahead and put them on screen right now. All right, guys, so we should have everything on screen now. Let's zoom in here. So we're only looking at this. Again, what I did was took the market cap of 867 billion and divided that by the circulating supply of 121 million. And at the 1.618, 2.618, and 3.618 fib, we get these price targets over here. So we have $7,100, we have $11,000, and $14,900. I am not here in this specific video to argue about Ethereum's ability to go and hit these extensions. This similar setup, which you'll see me mention in other videos this week, of crash, retrace, and reaccumulation, typically leads to coins, indexes, stocks, any type of asset going out to hit its full extensions. Again, that's all I'm going to say about it in this video. Based on that information, which I cover in other videos this week, these are the sell targets that I'm looking for on Ethereum. So how much should you sell at each level, right? I have that marked out in the middle. Okay, this is going to be 30% at the 1.618 fib, about $7,100 like we mentioned, 50% at the 2.618 fib, which is about $11,000, and then the final 20% at $14,900. Typically, we do see these things actually get out to a 4.236 extension, but it becomes a little bit of a gamble slash, I think the difference in price here is like maybe 15,500 versus 14,900. Like, I'm just going to get the last 20% out when I can, as I can. I'm going to be greedy and hold for another, $600 on Ethereum's price. This is a relatively conservative system. I know I'm going to have people saying and arguing with me that, hey, Ethereum's going to actually only get to $7,000, which if that happens, then yes, all of this is completely wrong, right? But I cover it in other videos this week, why I'm looking to use these fib extensions, right? But again, if it only tops at 7,100, then the person saying, 8K Ethereum, that's the top, then yes, they were right. But if not, then I have a relatively conservative way of scaling out. If Ethereum goes to $12,000, well, I got to sell 80% of my Ethereum that I bought all the way back here at sub $200 billion market cap. I got to sell 80% of it for around $1 trillion market cap. Like, you can't really complain about gains like that. And it allows you to lock in, substantial 80%, like I mentioned too. So this is how I'm playing it. I would love to see y'all's comments, opinions. What am I missing? What are you seeing differently? I'm always curious to hear other people's takes, other people's opinions. Comments are relatively intelligent for the most part, so always appreciate a good discussion. So you guys definitely let me know in the comments. Again, I will be covering other topics. I'm not here to debate, is Ethereum topping here? I'm not here to debate how high can Ethereum go. That's kind of going to be covered in other videos this week. But based on those other things that I'm going to talk about, this is the plan I plan to follow to exit on Ethereum this cycle. One more thing I actually forgot to mention. I vaguely talked about Ethereum hitting that full 4.236 extension, which is right around $2 trillion. But if this happens, it likely coincides with a lot of my macro triggers, which I've talked about in other short form videos. And this would be a sign for me to completely exit the market no matter what coin I'm holding, right? If Ethereum is likely topping out, likely means that Bitcoin's topping out, other altcoins are topping out, and that is kind of a max euphoria moment in the market. So I know it doesn't seem like it. I know it doesn't seem like Ethereum can go to a $2 trillion market cap right now, but I promise you it's not the most insane move. Right now we're at a $530 billion market cap. So moving from here to 2 trillion is about a 300% move. Is that the most insane thing? I personally don't think so. I think it's very overlooked how high Ethereum possibly could go this cycle. I found it a little bit odd that we're seeing a ton of whale accumulation even as price gets in and above and near the highs. That's a little bit odd to me. Typically smart money, typically whales are not chasing bags all the way up here unless they're about to do something relatively crazy, right? I'm not the biggest fundamental investor. I like to just simply look at the data, analyze, and move forward. But when it comes to like the fundamentals of what's going on behind the scenes of Ethereum, the fact that a lot of people are overlooking that this is only, 300% move, not the craziest thing, right? So don't overlook it. But if we do get to this point, even if you are somebody who thinks Ethereum's only going to $8,000, even if you get that wrong, and we get to a point where it's at 15,500, 16,000, $2 trillion market cap, and you're still holding other coins, definitely look around the market, take a look at those macro indexes, take a look at Bitcoin, Total 2, take a look at the stock market. You need to assess what's going on because it's likely going to mark a macro top in Bitcoin. Macro in the sense of, that's the bull market peak, right? When we see Ethereum getting to astronomically crazy numbers like this, which I still do think is possible. So I know that was a little bit of a rant, but hopefully you guys found this video enjoyable. All right, guys, that's it for this video. I know it seems crazy to call for a potential, $15,000, $16,000 Ethereum. That being obviously the highest I could see it go this cycle. But you guys know I'm conservative. You guys know I have a relatively, based outlook on the market. And if I can see it as possible, I feel like it's not the craziest thing. But saying that, I'm sure people are going to disagree. I'm sure people are going to have their own opinions. I'd like to hear them. Drop them in the comments. If you guys want any of my free materials, check out the link in my bio. If you have any questions, anything, just make sure you ask them in the comments. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.